Hello, Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench. Welcome back to the channel. I just had a pleasant surprise through the door, and a nice stiff card envelope came, and inside the envelope was this little masking set for the Airfix 1/48 scale Lysander, the Mark 1 Mark 3. This kit here, which is a beauty, and it's their first sort of venture into making window masks. And as you can see here, we've got the press release for it. So you can see here it's very similar to other window mask manufacturers. You've got Edward and ASK, and there's the other smaller British brands that sell on eBay and everything. But these are from Cartograph, who are, as you know, probably the best decals on the planet. So maybe they will also make the best masks on the planet. Who would argue that? But if they're good, they're good. Most masking sets you buy on the market are very good, other than the vinyl type for canopies. So if you remember, I did some, I'm not going to name the company because that's not fair, but I used some vinyl masks, or attempted to use some, on my border model Lancaster. They were absolutely useless on anything with a curve in it. Fine if it was just like, you know, the top of a hurricane canopy where it's, you know, it's got a singular curve, but if it's got a compound curve, absolutely useless. They won't conform, but these will, because they're made of a very, very thin masking tape. So I've got the sprue here. The bag, I know I've reviewed the kit, but I haven't even opened the bag, so I couldn't have done a proper review. Unless I had a faulty sprue and they sent me another one, but then I've only got one clear sprue, I think. I think I've only got one. Yes, I have. So yeah, I don't know why I didn't open that for the review, because one of the nicest parts about this kit is the crystal clear, thin, clear parts. So there we go. So basically what we've got in here is a masking set that I'm going to show you how to use them. So Airfix is proud to release an additional masking set to be used in conjunction with the 1/48 scale Westlands like Lysander Mark 1 Mark 3. The masking set includes masks for all glazed panels for closed and open canopy options, tail wheel and ballast windows. So there's no mask for the main wheel, which is a bit strange, but maybe you don't need it. If the wheels are made of separate parts, you probably don't need masks. That's something I know ASK does. They don't give you masks if the wheels don't need it. So coming over the page, we've got some instructions here on how to do it, how to use them. Not quite sure who that is there. Take the hassle out of painting your model kits with Airfix masking sets designed for precision and ease. These pre-cut adhesives masks let you achieve sharp paint lines on canopies, clear parts and other tricky areas without the stress of freehand work with a brush or using an airbrush. Perfectly tailored to specific Airfix kits, they save you time, improve accuracy and give your build a professional finish, utilising the CAD from the kit design to create the perfect shapes. Now that's one good thing. I know that the likes of Edward, ASK, they have to wait to get their hands on a kit and then they make their masking sets. Cartograph, as you know, are in bed with Airfix already with their decals, so Airfix will share information with them. So they've actually had the CAD models of the mold tool shapes, whatever, so they can make their masks absolutely spot on, we should think. Developed with our friends at Cartograph. Mask set RRP $9.99, tailored to the individual kit. Masks may vary from each kit. So that's something worth remembering. Like if you've got a Mark 1 Spitfire and you've got a masking set for it, and then you can get a Mark 5 Spitfire, that masking set won't necessarily fit. And also don't ever think, you know, if you've got masks from a Revell 1/48 scale B25, don't think they're going to fit the Hong Kong models B25. They won't. Okay, so although it's the same aircraft, and if you think about it, if they're all 1/48 and they're all spot on, they should all be exactly the same, but they won't be. So generally masks are dedicated to a particular kit of a particular scale, and make sure you get the right option when you buy your masks. So this is good because basically coming from Airfix, they're giving you the kit number. They've got a hand in this, so they should be really good. But let's have a look. Just because they've given them to me, I'm not going to say they're brilliant unless they're brilliant, and I'm not going to say they're awful just because it's Airfix or something. I'm not, you know, I'm completely unbiased. As you know, I'm always very honest. I will say at the outset, $9.99 seems a fair price when you compare it to the Edward and the ASK. but I would have thought they could have made them a little bit less cost, a little bit more cost effective, or even sort of put them in the kit, perhaps have the option of buying the kit with the masks and charge an extra £5. I don't know. I'm sure there'll be all sorts of things coming. So basically what you've got here is a sheet which is laying out, I was just wondering if there's any instructions. This is a sheet which is laying out the sheet as it is here, okay? Pretty much. So you can see here we've got 5, 6, 7 on X12. We've got 5, 6, 7 there, okay? Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to use masks because I want to use this mask set on the kit when I finally build it, even though I've also got the ASK set, which was kindly sent to me by Peter over at ArtScale Kit. But what I want to do is make sure I'm using masks for parts that I'm not going to use, because I'm not sure if the masks will be reusable. They often are. If you're very careful in removing them, you can put them back on the sheet and use them again. But here we have the clear sprue, and as you can see, these clear parts are some of the best Airfix I've ever made. They are really, really nice. This is something I remember seeing at Telford last year when I first saw the model. And yeah, absolutely stunning. Those clear parts are amazing. So the first thing I'm going to do is, I think it's X12 and X11. I'm just going to check. Yes, I'm not doing a Mark III. I'm going to do a Mark I, and it'll have an open canopy. So Mark I open canopy uses 7 and 8. If I decide to go close, a Mark I uses 14 and 13. So I'm going to use 11 and 12. So hang on now. I think I remember seeing on here that 13 and 14 uses the same. So let me see if I can find a panel that isn't used on the Mark I. Okay, so if I look at the instructions, it's very, very difficult because there are different parts used between the 1 and the 3. But like, for example, you can see here, this is the Mark III, this is the Mark I closed, and they're all the same except for this last one, 12. And it's the same on these little side panels here, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They're all using the same mask. So what I'm going to do, I definitely won't be building this closed. So I'm going to use 5, 6 and 7 on X12 and see how it goes. So X12, I'm going to take it off the sprue, basically because it's going to make it easier to handle, easier to position. Now what I would recommend, if you are new to the hobby, you may be looking at me and thinking, what are you doing? If you don't, just going to cut off these gates and stuff, because if I catch them I'll break them off and it ruins the finish. Okay, you never know, somebody might want a spare one and I can send it to them if they need it. So basically what we've got here is the clear part that's going to go in the side of the cockpit, and this is for the closed canopy version. This section of the window here that I'm pointing at, this actually rolls down, that slides down, and then this is all just remains in place. So when you've got an open one, it's just basically this without that piece on the front, because that it doesn't slide back or anything, it disappears down into the fuselage. So they're like a car. So basically what I would suggest is, if you are building a model and you're using masks, fit your clear parts and then fit the masks, unless of course you've got an inside set. Now Edward, ASK, I can't think of anyone else, they make masks that have interior and exterior. So what you do is you mask the inside and then spray it interior green or silver or whatever colour it needs to be, and then you remove those and fit the panels, and then when you fit your outer masks you get a very, very lovely look to the model, because it's got this internal framing as well and it gives the model depth. They look very, very good. But these are just this is Airfix's first set, so basically these are just exterior masks, which on a 1/48 kit is absolutely fine. The interior is nice to have for sort of 32nd and 24th. Hang on a minute, I've got Dottie's got some, oh, it's a toy, I thought she had something there. Right, so we can see on here this part is X12, and we can see there that this is X12, and we're going to first do the top left hand corner, and that's going to be mask number 5. So we can see here that mask number 5 is on the sheet. You can see the decals. The masks are die cut, and this is how I fit them. Okay, now you don't have to do the same. This is how I do it. Now I would normally do this under a magnifier, so if I don't get it spot on, it's my fault, it's not the masks. Now when you fit these, you can see they have a number on them, number 5, and it's that way up. So always fit them, whatever company you're using, always fit them with the number the right way as it shows on the scheme. Okay, so basically what we're going to do, I always use a knife to fit them. What I'm going to do is just slide that bottom corner in, okay, and get it between the frames, and then just put it down, just like so. Now, as you can see, that is just literally placed on there, it's not glued down. So now with my knife, I can just nudge the mask over. Obviously I'm not pushing through the paper with the knife, I'm just nudging it over. You could use a pair of tweezers if you want, so I'll grab a pair of tweezers. These are just some old blunt tweezers, okay, and get the mask into position. As I say, I would usually use a magnifier, this may be slightly out. And then what I'm going to do is with a cotton bud, I'm just going to push the mask down. Now you'll see what some people suggest is using a toothpick to go around the edge and push it down. That works very well on larger stuff, but on this smaller stuff I would seriously recommend using a cotton bud and just go around the edge and then make sure it's fluff free. Okay, the problem with using a stick I find with smaller stuff is if you get in too tight you can start to damage the edge of the mask. So that is not fitted perfectly, I can see, but that is my fault. The mask is beautiful. I'm just going to grab my magnifier and have a quick look. Yeah, I've got that mask fitted slightly too far this way. Okay, so what I can do is come in here, lift up this end. I can just get the knife under it. Okay, lift up this end using my tweezers, just pull it up and then reposition it. Just have a look at it again, that's better. And then once again with the cotton bud, just push it down. The reason you need to have it pushed down is because when you paint, if you don't have the edges pushed down, the paint will bleed under. Now if you're using something like a Tamiya paint or an acrylic paint, what you can do once you've masked, if you find that happens, get a cocktail stick, take a knife and just cut the end off like that, make a nice sharp, see there's a nice sharp point on the end of there. And then what you do, if you've got, say, imagine there's paint in here, come up to the frame and then just scratch the paint off. Go around the edge and just scratch it off, and that'll give you a nice sharp edge. Now you can see here that I can push this mask down on the edge with a cocktail stick, but be very, very careful not to damage the mask. Okay, so you can see that one there's gone on. So the next one is number 6. So once again, we'll pick up number 6 using the knife, and we'll keep the, in fact I'm going to come from the top because it's a lot easier to fit it that way like I did with the other one. Okay, you can see I just tapped it with the knife and it lifted up. So what I'm doing there is sticking it to the knife blade, come along here, place it in position, sort of butt the bottom end in just like so, like that, and then just pull the knife away, and then I can move the mask around. Because I haven't pushed it down, I can move the mask around and get it in position. I think it needs to go a little bit to the right, like so, and there we go. And then what I can do is airbrush the model, and that's it. And then finally we'll just do this last big one. This is number 7, so we'll get this one off. Okay, again I'll use the knife. What I'll do is come in here, and I'm looking at the corners and just pushing it in. I've got it a little bit too far to the left, so I'm just going to move it over. What I'm going to do here, because I have got it too far to the left all the way down, I'm going to lift it up. Okay, and then I'm going to put it back down. When you lift it up and put it back down, it makes it a little bit harder because, as you can see, you get a curl in it. Whereas when it comes off the sheet with the knife, it remains flat. So it is not the easiest job in the world, and you do need bloody good eyesight or a magnifier, but they work a treat. Now these fit beautifully. What's nice about them is they are very slightly too small, which is nice. That way, if they're slightly too big, what happens is, if you can imagine this is your glazing and this is your frame, okay, this would be clear before it's painted. So what happens is you get the clear coming up over, so the paint ends up on the edge of the frame and you can see the corner of the frame in clear, whereas these are actually sitting down in, they're actually in the glass panel. So when you actually paint it, you will get the paint going around the edge of the frame as well. It will look very realistic. But yeah, they are very nice indeed. They're also extremely thin, which is good to know. If they're too thick, they can get hairy edges and everything. But these are really nice, and I shall use those on the build. As I say, I've got the ASK ones, which have the interior set, so I'll probably use a combination of the two when I build it. But yeah, very nice indeed. So thank you very much, Dale. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say is to the new modelers out there, if you're brush painting, you can still use these if you're brush painting, but what you need to do is be very careful not to flood it. Now, when I say don't flood it, I don't mean dry brush it. I mean, you know, just make sure the brush doesn't have too much paint on it, and really make sure you work into all the corners and the edges and everything. Don't just dip your paint in and just flood it on, because what will happen is it will creep under. Okay, as I say, if it's an acrylic paint, it's easy. You remove the mask and then you go around with a cocktail stick and tidy it up. But this is so much better than having to cut them yourself, because you've all seen me do it. You get masking tape, you come in with a cocktail stick, you go around the tape, makes the edge, and then you get the knife and you go round, and then you find you've gone slightly off, or you slip and scratch another panel. You know, yes, it's an extra £10, but it's well worth it for your end result and for your nerves. So there we go. So that is the Airfix Lysander masking set. Is there a number on this? Yes, A65008 is the number you can see there. Okay, and it's for the 1/48th Western Lysander Mark 1 Mark 3, released, I think it was released this year, wasn't it? It was delayed because of problems with the boxings, wasn't it? With the artwork. But yeah, they're lovely. A very good addition to the kit. Thoroughly recommended. Just a quickie, guys, sticking this in on the end. They can be removed and put back on the sheet. Look at that. So there we go. So you can reuse them. And believe me, if they're painted, it makes no difference. You can still take them off and put them on. On that note, I've noticed there's no mention of it here at all. But quite often, manufacturers will tell you not to leave them on for more than 48 hours sort of thing. And I think it's just to cover their own backs. In my experience, I've found with masks on clear parts, they can be left on for days and not have a problem. Don't take my word for it, it's just in my experience. If you're using something like one-man army mask where you're masking for roundels and stuff like that, and you're leaving the masks on paint, then yeah, probably, you know, no more than 24 hours, because the glue could penetrate the paint and you lift it off. But as I say, in my experience with clear parts, never had a problem. Don't put them in direct sunlight. Don't leave them on there for like 6 months, because you know what happens if you want to see what I mean. Go and put some masking tape on the side of a metal cabinet or something and leave it there for 6 months and then try and rip it off. It's like powder. But these are like kabuki tape. It's not the same sort of thing. But as I say, I've certainly left them on for months and months and months. I've got a part here, which is held onto my, it's actually a part of the Poker Pagani I'm doing, and it's a part that broke off the sprue, and I don't know what it is, but I've just got it taped here with kabuki tape. Actually, there's the part there, and you can see that has been there for, well, it's been there for weeks on the side of a metal cabinet, and it just unpeels. So don't worry about leaving them on too long. But I just wanted to put this quick bit on the end to show that you can reuse them, and just to prove it is the same sheet. You can see where I've got them slightly off, and you can see that if I do that with the sheet, then these edges come up and those don't. So there we go. Lovely little set. Right, thank you for watching.